Hello and welcome to Stories of the Sun and Moon, told by me, Dawn Nelson, a professional storyteller with a passion for nature, landscape and heritage connection. As we follow the wheel of the year, I will be sharing folk tales from the English and Scandinavian traditions that focus on the sun and the moon, the light and the dark, the day and the night. We are starting our journey with Ostara, the point in the year where the day and the night are in balance. It is the time of the vernal equinox, which is typically celebrated between the 21st and 23rd of March. And in celebration of this balance, I am taking you on a quest to find a castle that sits east of the sun and west of the moon. Back in a time when there was snow on the ground in winter, when the earth had a frost upon it that was so hard that you could not grow things in it at all, and the winters were long. There was a family, a large family, and this man and his wife had several daughters, and they had yet for any of them to marry. The family was starting to get to the point where it was difficult for them to support them all. Money was hard. So when one winter's night, when the moon was full, and a bear came knocking on the door, a talking bear no less, a white polar bear, and it asked for the hand of the youngest daughter in exchange for riches beyond their wildest dreams, well, you'd think that the father would have hesitated more than he did. But, as I say, times were hard, and so he did not think twice about marrying his daughter to a bear. Instead, he went inside and he spoke to his daughter, and he explained how there was a bear at the door who wishes to marry her, and here's why he thought she should do it. The bear says he will make us richer than we could possibly imagine, and we would have no more suffering if you will marry this polar bear. The young girl, she looked out of the window into the moonlit night, and there on the doorstep was a bright white bear. But what she saw was coarse fur, blood around his mouth from his last meal, his sharp canines hanging over his lips, and his black claws in the snow. And she turned to her father and she said, "There's no way I'm marrying that." The father was not without feeling. He wasn't going to force his daughter to do this, and so he went back to the door and told the bear that he should come back in a week's time, and that he would work on his daughter and convince her that this was a good idea, but that it did, after all, need to be the daughter's choice. The bear agreed and walked off towards the mountains. Over the week, the father talked to the daughter of all the wonderful riches they would have, how they would not be eating gruel every evening, and that they'd have meat and potatoes, fresh vegetables, and maybe even fruit. They wouldn't need to worry, and the snow that was currently falling on the table through the roof would no longer be a problem, as they could fix that hole. The daughter looked around the table and saw the sallow cheeks of her sisters. She saw how you could see their ribs through their worn clothes. She saw her mother's concerned face and the fear in her father's. And so she agreed, heavy-heartedly, that when the polar bear returned, she would leave with him. The polar bear did return, and this time she saw a bear with fur as soft as down, and when she got up onto his back, he kept his sharp canines away from her, and his jet black eyes were kind. She found herself thinking, perhaps this would not be so bad. The bear carried her far away over the frozen lands until they reached a castle. It was a magnificent castle, and when she went in, there was a table laid with more food than she could possibly eat, and in her bedroom, laid on the four-poster bed, there were fresh clothes made of velvets and silks, and the bear told her that should she want for anything, well then she should just ring the bell that sat on her bedside table, and a servant would appear. Indeed, she wanted for nothing. At night she retired to an opulent bedroom with silk sheets and a mattress that was far away from the sack of straw she had slept on at home. And after she turned the lights out, somebody would come to her bed. It was not the bear, though. This was a man, and she spent many a night with him. She was very happy with this arrangement, and it continued over many months. She would have the run of the castle and anything she ever wished for, and barely ever saw the polar bear, But each night the man appeared in the bedroom and got into bed beside her. She imagined from the stories that she had heard when she was younger that this must be the bear who had shed his skin. But it was always dark, and the man insisted on that. And so she was left to imagine what this handsome prince must look like, the one who had saved her and her family from poverty. The memories of these stories and sitting beside the fire listening to them with her family meant that she became homesick, and the bear saw the change in her and asked her what ailed her. When she explained that she was homesick, he said that she may return home for one day, but that should her mother try to get her on her own and talk to her, she must refuse and not listen under any circumstances. She must not listen to anything her mother tried to say, because whatever she said, it would only be their downfall. The girl agrees. She wants to see her family. The house is much changed when she returns, and a manor house now stands in its place. Her family are overjoyed to see her, and a huge feast is prepared. They ask her to tell them of her life, and so she does. She talks of the fine food and clothes she now has, and how kind the bear is to her, but that she is at times lonely. And so she is very pleased that the bear has allowed her to come home, if only for one day. When her mother asks to speak to her privately after dinner, well, she tries to refuse, but mothers are persuasive, and she soon finds herself sat alone with her mother beside the fire. Her mother presses her to tell her what her nights are like. The daughter knows what the mother is asking, and so she reassures her that it is a man that she sleeps with, albeit in the dark, but a man nonetheless. "This is no way to live," says the mother. "You must know what he looks like. You are man and wife. Surely you should know." The daughter again reassures her that it is fine and that she is happy with this arrangement. She returns home with the bear that evening, and the words of her mother play on her mind. Beside the bed there is a tallow candle, and some days later, when she is sure the man that is in her bed is asleep, she lights it and holds it up to see him. He is, indeed, the most beautiful man she has ever seen, and surely of royal blood. And as she is watching him sleep, a small amount of the tallow drops from the candle onto his shoulder and runs over his collarbone. He awakes instantly, flings himself out of the bed and shouts, "What are you doing? What have you done? I told you, you must not listen to your mother. I had a curse upon me, and if we could have just got through this year of living this way, well, then the curse would have been lifted. But now I must leave, and I may never return, for I am to travel to the castle that is east of the sun and west of the moon. There I must marry the troll who has cursed me." The girl begs him to stay, and that they will find a way to lift the curse, but he leaves, as he must, as it is foretold. The next morning, after a sleepless night hoping her husband would return, she takes matters into her own hands, and she decides that she must take the journey to the castle that her husband spoke of and find him. She packs up clothes and food and heads out into the frozen lands. She asks many people along the way where the castle that is east of the sun and west of the moon stands, but none of them know, until finally she reaches a cave high up in the mountains. There a woman, with a face etched with wisdom, is tending a small fire, and so the girl approaches her. As she does, she sees that the woman is rolling a golden apple back and forth across the earth. She asks the woman if she knows where the castle that is east of the sun and west of the moon stands, and the woman looks up. "I have heard of this place, and I have heard of the prince who is to marry a troll. Are you the woman who seeks him?" "I am," the girl replies. "I am, and I will do anything to find him." "Very well. Take this golden apple, for I do not know where the castle is, but my sister may, and she lives in the North Mountains. You may use my horse that runs faster than the wind to get there." The girl takes the horse and reaches the mountains of the north, where there is another cave with a woman sat beside a fire, this time running wool through a golden carding comb. She says, "Your sister has sent me to see if you know where the castle is that is east of the sun and west of the moon," and the woman looks up. "I have heard of this place, and I have heard of the prince who is to marry a troll. Are you the woman who seeks him?" "I am," the daughter replies. I am, and I will do anything to find him. Very well. Take this golden carding comb, for I do not know where the castle is, but my sister may, and she lives in the South Mountains. You may use my horse that runs faster than the wind to get there. The girl again takes the horse and reaches the mountains of the south, and there is another cave with another woman sat beside a fire, this time spinning wool on a golden spinning wheel. And the girl says, Your sister has sent me to see if you know where the castle is that is east of the sun and west of the moon. And the woman looks up. I have heard of this place, and I have heard of the prince who is to marry a troll. Are you the woman who seeks him? I am, the daughter replies. I am, and I will do anything to find him. Very well. I do not know where the castle is, but the north wind does. And the woman calls up the north wind and tells him of the journey the girl has come on, and the north wind agrees to take her to the castle. The women of the South Mountains, as her sisters before her have done, gifts the girl the golden spinning wheel, wishes her luck, and off the girl goes across the land and sea to the castle that is east of the sun and west of the moon. As the girl approaches the castle, she sits herself beneath the highest tower, which has a window at the top of it, for she has been told enough stories to know that if you wait beneath a castle window long enough, especially one in a tower, well, soon enough a princess will appear at the window. She also knew that trolls desired gold, and so as she waited, she played with the golden apple. The apple glinted in the sun, and it soon caught the eye of the troll princess high up in the tower. The troll leaned out of the window and called down to the girl. What have you got there? Is it gold I see? What will you take for it? How much? I will take no money, the girl called back. Instead, I would like one night with your betrothed. One night with my husband-to-be? The troll thought a while. Very well. And so it was arranged. The girl thought that once she was in the presence of the prince, well, then she could let him know that she had found him and that they could be together once more. Only the troll was a little cleverer than that. And she had placed a sleeping draught in the prince's evening wine, and he was sound asleep all night, leaving the girl no opportunity to speak to him. Instead, all she could do was sing of her lost love and her plight to find him. The next day the girl waited once more below the window of the tower, and this time she worked the wool with the carding comb until the troll appeared at the window once more. I see you have more gold, the troll princess called down. What will you take for it this time? Another night with your husband-to-be, called the girl. Very well, much good it'll do you, replied the troll, and it was again arranged. But the same situation came to pass, and the girl was not able to talk to her husband, who was sound asleep, thanks to the troll's sleeping draught. This time her singing was heard by the guests that had gathered in the castle for the troll and the prince's wedding, and they started to talk of the story her song had told. The prince catches these conversations, and he asks the guests what they are talking of. They tell him the story the girl has sung, and that they are sure the singing came from the prince's room. He is confused, for, to his knowledge, there has been no woman in his room at night. But the guests insist that that is where the singing came from. It is then that he realises that he must have been given a sleeping draught, and the girl singing the story, his story, must be the girl with the tallow candle that he left in the castle far away. The next day the girl tries one last time. This time she sits beneath the window with the golden spinning wheel. The troll is once more tempted, and the girl once more requests one night in her husband's room, and the troll agrees, confident in the knowledge that her groom will sleep very soundly. This time, though, the prince has not drunk the sleeping draught, and instead he pretends to be asleep. The girl enters the room, and she sings once more, and as she does, her tears fall upon his shoulder where the tallow fell that fateful night, and in doing so they wash away the mark that is left there. The prince reveals that he is in fact awake, and that her quest and tears in finding him have lifted the curse. The people are overjoyed that their prince will no longer have to marry a troll, and that they will no longer have a troll for a queen, and so the troll is banished to the mountains once more. She will be back one day, have no doubt about it. That's probably a story for another day. But for now, As far as I know, the prince and his true bride lived very happily for many, many years in the castle that was east of the sun and west of the moon. East of the Sun, West of the Moon is a Norwegian tale collected by Peter Asbjørnsen and Jørgen Moe, retold by Dawn Nelson.